Hello, welcome back to another installment in this series, One Verse a Week. This week's Parsha is Parshat Chukat. That can be found in your Bibles from Numbers 19, verse 1 through 22, verse 1. This video is being prepared for the reading cycle for the Jewish year 5779. If you find this video, this series, or any of my other efforts to be worthy of your support, I wish you would consider becoming a patron over on Patreon, or potentially making a small donation via PayPal. You can find that information in the details below. Okay, let's get going. Parshat Chukat. Okay, we are now on the section of Numbers where we have just one calamity after the other. Last week we had Korach. This week we are going to have the issue with the rock, the famous incident of striking the rock versus speaking to the rock. And next week we're going to have the issue of Balak. We're going to have Balaam and all that business. Okay, so we have a lot of fun during the summer months. We have a hit parade of calamities. Okay, fine. So let's go. Numbers 20. Verse 11. This is the sort of the iconic scene where Moshe strikes the rock as opposed to speaking to it as he was told to. Okay. So it says, let me read the Hebrew a couple times. V'yarem Moshe et yado v'yach et hasela b'matehu pa'amayim. פעמיים, ויצאו מים רבים, ותשת העדה ובירם. One more time. וירם משה את ידו, ויח את הסלע במטהו פעמיים, ויצאו מים רבים, ותשת העדה ובירם. Okay, let's look at these verbs. Okay, so all of them, this is pretty normal for a verse. It's got a goodly amount of verbs here, but all of them are in the so-called imperfect form, which by convention we would translate in the future. So yarem, this is in the third person, masculine, singular, imperfect. Okay, yarem. The root is resh vav mem. It has a sense that means lift. So yarem, he lifted, and then the vav hahipach, the reversing vav, switches the tense to make it past tense. V'va yarem, and he lifted, past tense. Okay, for those interested, for those that are following along with me in the learning with me in the first Hebrew primer. The Vav HaHipach is introduced in chapter 17, so it's pretty oft used in the Torah. So if you want a preview of that, go read that chapter. Okay, this, of course, the imperfect verb chart is in chapter 11 in the first Hebrew primer. Okay, V'yarim, and he lifted. Who lifted? Moshe. Moshe lifted. Okay, let's go over here. Vayach. Okay. This comes from the shorish, the root nun chaf hey. It means to strike. Okay, so you see that this is a highly irregular root. Everything drops out from it. We'll potentially at some point make a video series explaining the verbs and what reasons for what reasons a root is irregular versus regular. Okay, so yach. Yach is, again, the third person masculine singular imperfect. Yach. Yach would be he will hit. He will hit. Vav Hipuch switches it. He hit. He struck. Okay. Fine. Here we have yetzu. Yetzu comes from the shorish. Yud tzadi aleph. It means to come out, to exit, to come out, like the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the going out of Egypt. It means to go out of. Okay, this is in the in the third person masculine plural. Third person masculine plural form, yetzu. They went out. They went out. Vav Hipuch, they will go out. And Vav Hipuch flips it to the past tense. V'yetzu, they went out, and they went out. What went out? What were the they? Mime. The mime here, this word mime, it's always in the plural form, and therefore the verb that you would attach to it most often would be in the plural. Okay, mime is always a plural word. Okay, fine. V'tesht. V'tesht. Okay, tesht is coming from the root shin, tav. Hey, shatat means to drink. Tesht, that is in the feminine. This is an unusual root in and of itself because it has a hey in this position. So tesh, that is in the feminine second person. I'm sorry, I take that back. It's in the feminine third person. Okay, feminine third person. So tesh. Tesh would mean literally she or it will drink. The Vav Hipuch flips it. V'tesht. And she or it drank. So why is it in the feminine? Because it is attached to this word eda. And eda, which means assembly, eda here is a feminine word. Okay, not always a reliable rule, but the hey is a tip-off. So we would have to have gender agreement between the verb and its subject. So the eda drank, therefore the verb has to be a feminine verb. Okay, so let's go look at the non-verbs in this sentence. Yad. V'yar Moshe lifted up. What did he lift up? Et yado. Et is direct object. What did he lift up? His hand. His yado. Yad is hand, and the vav here is possessive. Okay. V'yarem Moshe et yado. He lifted up his hand. V'yach et ha-sela. He struck. Direct object. What did he strike? Ha-sela, the rock. Sela. Sela is not your normal word for rock. It's a little bit of an unusual word. It means a rock or a flint or a crag. Something along those lines. Okay, Sela. He struck the Sela. Okay, what did he strike it with? With matehu. He struck it with his mate, his staff. Possessive form, matehu. He struck it with his staff, meaning that the staff is, in the old days, in the ancient period, was a very potent symbol of authority, potent symbol of leadership, group leadership, and so he used this symbol, the staff, and he struck the stone with it. Of course, this is the same staff that he did the miracles with in Mitzrayim. So this is a storied stick. Okay, b'matehu. He struck it with his staff, saying, fine. For V'yoreh Moshe et yado, and Moshe lifted up his hand. V'yach et hasela, and he struck the stone, the rock. b'matehu, with his staff. Pa'amaim. So pa'am means once, and a time, an occasion, something like that. This is the plural, but this with this particular Nikuda pattern, it doesn't mean times. Pa'amim would mean times. So pa'amaim means 2 times. This pattern here indicates that it was 2 times. Okay, pa'amaim. So he struck it with his stick 2 times. Fine. V'yetzu, and they went out. What are they? Maim. The waters went out. The maim is water, or sometimes translated as waters, to conform with the plural form here. V'yetzu maim. The waters went out. What kind of waters? Rabim. Abundant waters. A lot. It comes from the word harbe. Harbe means a lot. So maim rabim would mean abundant waters. Note that when we use an adjective, it has to match both in terms of gender and number. So you have a yud mem, an im ending, usually indicates a masculine plural. And we have so to here on its adjective we have a yud mem. Okay, maim rabim. This having to match in terms of gender and endings is a good. This is used very often as the device for Hebrew poetry. It's obvious. It's easy to rhyme things or to have alliterative sentences when you have so many of the common endings in one sentence. Okay, fine. V'yetzu maim rabim, a lot of water went out. V'tesht. Note the shva rule here. I have a video on the shva rules. When 2 shvas appear next to each other at the end of a sentence for 2 different letters, then neither of them really sound out. Neither of them are a shva na. They're both a shva nach. So tesht. Okay, v'tesht ha'eda. Okay, again, this is feminine in form. And ha'eda is a feminine word. Now, ha'eda means the assembly. The assembly. So the v'tesht ha'eda, the congregation drank. V'iram, and so too their cattle. V'ir means cattle as a group, sort of a collective term, like a herd, and the mem here is a possessive for their cattle, and their cattle drank. Okay, let's go look at some translations here. Okay, my translation. And Moshe raised his hand and struck the rock with his staff twice, and out came abundant water, and the assembly drank, and their cattle. Okay, let's look at what the KJV did. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. Did I do there? Yes. He smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. Also is not in the original text. There is no gam or any kind of word like that. Hence the italics. See, let's go back to the Hebrew. There is no also or anything. It says v'tesht ha'eda, and the eda drank, v'iram, and their cattle, their herd. Okay, so the KJV indicates that they've added a word. Let's look at the NIV. Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Okay, hand, arm. It could yad could be hand or arm, so that's fine. Water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. Okay, water gushed out. Gushed, yetzu, it doesn't mean gush. It only means to come out. So they've kind of gussied up their translation. It simply says the water came out. Fine. And the community, it can mean community, is fine. And their livestock drank. So my problem here is that they have sort of made it seem that the verb that just sort of altered the order of the sentence. Not the worst of transgressions, but it is not a literal rendering. So community and their livestock drank. So literally it would be in the community drank and their livestock. Okay, NRSV. Then Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their livestock drank. Okay, NRSV was doing very well, and then they sort of rearranged this last bit, where the congregation and their livestock drank instead of and the congregation drank and their livestock, which is the more literal rendering. Okay, small potatoes, not such a big deal, but nevertheless it is a departure from the Hebrew text. Okay, JPS. And Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod. Okay, rod is just a fancier word for staff. Out came copious water. Okay, they had their thesaurus out, so they chose copious. Fine. And the community and their beasts drank. Okay, they do the same thing. They just smooth out that Hebrew for the English reader, which is fine if you're okay with that. However, again, it is not a direct translation of the Hebrew. This has been altered for ease of reading in English. Okay, finally, the stone. Then Moses raised his arm. Okay, hand, arm, yad could be both, and struck the rock with his staff twice. Fine. Abundant water came forth. Okay, and the assembly and their animals drank. And the stone does the same thing that all the other translations do, save for the KJV. They smooth over this last bit. Again, it should have said, and the assembly drank, and their animals. Period. Okay, so let's see. All of them have all the translations this time around have some departure from the original. KJV alerts us to that fact, so in that sense, perhaps it comes out on top if you can handle the archaic language. But none of the translations are altogether awful. It's a relatively minor qualm here. Okay, fine. Let's read the Hebrew one more time, and then I will set you on your way. V'yarem Moshe et yado, and Moshe lifted up his hand. V'yach et hasela b'matehu, and he struck the selah, the flint, the rock, b'matehu, with his staff. Pa'amayim, twice, 2 times. V'yetzu maim rabim, and maim rabim came out. Abundant water, a lot of water came out. V'teisht ha'eda, and the Eda drank, v'iram, and their cattle. Okay, that was that. Another week, another verse. Okay, I hope you'll join me again next week for another installment called Tuv. Hatzlacha Rabbah. Keep learning.